Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope you're having a great day. I want to wrap up the cold dish today. We're going to keep some of the same things we've talked about throughout the novel, and I want to add a couple of other details, just kind of give you my overview at the very end. And as we go through this, as I said, we're going to deal with it as we've always done: character, conflict, connection, and theme. The emphasis today is not going to be on character, conflict, or connection. I think we have talked about those quite a bit. I want to talk for a bit about theme and try to put this part of the novel, the theme element, into perspective. First, I think we need to clarify some language here and talk a little bit about the difference between theme and plot. Plot is the organized sequence of events in the novel. To put that in a little simpler format, what are the struggles? Who's fighting with whom? In short, plot is what happens. Theme is the point the author may be trying to make. Theme should stand in the real world. The theme of the novel is not about the events in the novel. The theme of the novel is what the events in the novel illustrate about our world in the year of our Lord 2023. It makes a point about a subject people care about, and it should be stated in a complete sentence, not a single word. It makes a point. It is not the subject of the novel, it is the point about that subject. The why bother, I think, goes back again to what this class is about. Read critically, reason, and write critical and persuasive prose. If we are going to read critically, then discerning the theme, I think, is important. And let me try to be a little more succinct. If university educations do their job, having a BS detector should be the thing that everyone comes out of school with, everyone graduates with. Determining what the theme is, determining the author's agenda, I think is part of that BS. And that's true whether it's nonfiction or fiction. That's true discerning how facts are used. That's true discerning logical fallacies. That's true discerning all of the things that we have done in this class at a practical level should be a BS detector. Whether or not that makes you money is a totally different thing, and I'm willing to bet that in a lot of ways it won't. The purpose of the BS detector is just so you don't get taken advantage of. The subjects in the cold dish are white and Native American relations in the American West. I probably should have had the word the contemporary American West. There's child abuse. There's poverty on the Native American reservations. There's marriages and their problems. Walt alludes to his marriage before his wife died, Vic and her husband, Omar and his wife. And certainly there's mental health and alcoholism and the effects of poor mental health, the effects of alcoholism. Those things are all subjects. I don't know if the novel makes a point about any of those subjects. I think what it does is makes a point about things a little bit deeper. Theme can be stated directly. I've had this quotation up before. I had it bolded in a different way. But I think Johnson, in some ways, wants to point out that numbers get in the way of seeing people, and seeing people is important. I think that that's a fairly decent theme, but like all themes, there is a risk. And that risk is that it can become a cliche. Or, to put it a little bit more accurate, it can become a t shirt. The problem with discerning theme, the problem with my step by step of making it a subject, is that it should go a little deeper than a t shirt. It should go a little deeper than a cliche. I think that he does a good job of that. I think Johnson does an excellent job of making us care about Melissa, of making us care about a lot of the characters. But I do think it's important that if we discern a theme, we don't turn it into a t shirt, we don't turn it into a slogan. We think about how well it's developed, we think about the application. We don't just think of it as a little mantra that can become a t shirt. To go back to this novel in general and to think about what was it about, I'm going to emphasize that it was not about the puzzle. I mentioned this in class before. I'm not sure caring about who murdered Cody Pritchard was ever a key element of this thing. It was Walton Henry, it was Walton Lucian, it was the small town, and it was why do they react to Walton this way? Why does he react this way? Who are these people? And I think more importantly, it was about Walton Henry. And I have this rather vague picture up here because friendship seems to me to be one of the subject matters of this novel that I didn't list before. But if I go to Google Images, or I think this was images from Yahoo or whatever, finding pictures of male friendship was pretty difficult. And Walt's friendship with Henry, I think, is the crux of this novel. But there are also friendships with Vic, friendships with Ruby, friendships with Lucian, and the kind of vague nature of this print, this picture, this sketch, also, I think, point out kind of the vague nature of friendships within the novel. And so I think it's important to think about what point does this novel make about friendship? Those of you watching this on video, in class, there's going to be another video that I'll link below about friendship, and that's going to spring to the daily writing element of everything. But I think it's important, what exactly does this novel say about friendship? What exactly is the sentence about friendship that we can go to without turning it into some sort of cliche, some sort of t shirt? Last thing I want to do is to kind of wrap up the novel with my view about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. I stole this from a YouTube reviewer named Nick Shabazz. Nick reviews watches and pocket knives and gear in general. And this is his rubric: the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. His last video on April 1st, he does a parody of his good and great and bad and the ugly. That too will be linked in the description box below. Taking a quick look at the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. For me, the good is the characterizations of Walt, Henry, Ruby, Vic, and Ferg. I thought that all of those were characterized well. Ferg came off a little bit light, but there was enough to see that he is the laid back one of the bunch. And I kind of empathized a little bit with his idea of his, love of gadgets and a few other things like that. I thought the great was the sense of place. The idea of what is this place, the idea of the mountains, the idea of the landscape being as much a part of the novel as anything else. I used the term terroir in an earlier class period. I think that that's there. George Esper got shot twice. That's not very funny, but the fact that he always seems to escape, the fact that he is never where he is supposed to be, I thought provided a sense of comic relief. And finally, I'm not Native American, so I suppose I should talk with some members of the Cheyenne Nation what they think about Native American spirituality as presented in this novel. But I thought that Johnson did a good job of not over sentimentalizing it, and I thought he did a pretty good job of treating it with respect. The bad, I thought, was the characterization of Lucian and Turk. The part where, Lucian's, it's fine for him to not be politically correct, but I thought that they probably pushed that a little bit too hard. The Turk gets punched in the face, and all of a sudden, that mans him up after the conversation with Lucian. It just didn't seem to, it just seemed to be a bit over the top. The part about Lucian taking off his leg and diving in the water, that too seemed to be a bit over the top. Um, and over the top, I think, translates into something that might be bad, might be ugly. It's this nagging feeling that everything is a bit over the top. Walt on the Mountain, Walt's depression, the fact that the dog did more to get him out of depression than his promise to Melissa after he's obsessed over this case for years. There were just little things like that that I thought Johnson could have cleaned up a little bit more neatly. Perhaps I'm being a little picky here. Overall, I thought still think this is a solid novel. This is probably my third or fourth time through it. And I think that it's important to just take a look at your opinions of good, great, bad, and the ugly. That's not going to be today's daily writing, however. If you're not in class, check the daily writing. The link to the friendship video will be in the description box below. It'll probably be in the daily writing as well. And if you need a laugh with a lot of repetition, take a look at the Nick Shabazz link below where he goes over the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. Hope everyone's having a good day. Hope to see you all in class the next class period.